Live.
Here we are. Okie dokie. Well, welcome everyone to our Unlimited Network Mastermind of the week. Every Saturday, 10 a.m., we get together here to support conscious entrepreneurs to build up our success from the inside out and to do that consciously. So I'm very excited about just uniting forces. I love the sense that I have inside of having a team and a group of people that we are like-minded and that we have the same intention and ideas. I think that is a great nutrition, and I really inspire everybody to find your own group or whatever. I mean, enjoy this one that we have here because it is very supportive to me for sure, and it's not what you find normally on the street. People don't talk like we talk, so it's very nice to have this kind of consciousness together and to nurture it every week. So welcome everyone. And next, I would like to welcome new people. We have a very active week this week, and we have new members in our businesses. And I would like to celebrate also Arne that he went to his 150 business partners. I mean, he has a team of 150 people in his team, and I think just to listen to the number is wonderful. So it's growing, and I just want to celebrate that. So it's really a matter of deeply understanding, I would say, that the business that we are in is a very new model, new organism coming out, and that we have all this world of direct marketing and e-commerce really like empowered or powered by the monster, I will say, of social media. So that's kind of new, and we are pioneers on that. So I just want to celebrate that we have the opportunity to tap into something that is really coming into the world, and I just want us to imagine, this direct marketing or e-commerce that is growing a lot, just supported or empowered by the amazing viral force that we have with social media. So we don't know the results yet because that was never done before, but for sure we can imagine, see it, and sense it. Like it's very powerful where we are in. So the idea is to have the strong foundation inside ourselves so we can really manage the success that we are targeting, and to be comfortable in life. So that's something that I wanted to say today, and also to talk a little bit about Doc Fran, that normally he's our leader here in the call, reading the books and really supporting all of us to unfold our leadership, our inner leaders. But today he's busy with some complication about the deep raining that is happening in Florida, and he has some problem at home, so he's not going to join us today. But we keep going, like everything in life. When there is a trouble or some contradiction or something like that, we become creative enough to surpass that and to look forward instead of going down with whatever obstacle that we find. I mean, in this case, I know that Doc Frank is with us, in that we are with him in his heart, and that he's with us in our hearts. I totally believe that. But we send him good vibration, and to really have the ability to stop that water that looks like it's coming to his garden and his porch and all that stuff. So he's very busy physically, let's say. And so instead of Doc Frank reading the chapter today, we are going to read the chapter from Arne Ransen. Is the one that's going to do that. Our leader here. I just want to acknowledge you, Arne, for your, I don't know, your service, your how available you are for anybody and anyone that really needs something from, to build a business and to respond here. So thank you so much for that. And let's see, I don't know if I said the date today, but today is Saturday, February 28th, just in case of someone is looking at the video and you don't know what date is today. And then let's see, what I think that's all. Last week we were working with the law of no resistance. I don't know about you guys, but for me it was a big opening, and this week I was really noticing, the easiness that comes when I don't resist something. So it was very powerful. I keep working on that. One of the things that I'm doing in my life right now with Arne is a cleanse juice program of 28 days, and today we are on our day 13, I think. And it is intense, it is challenging, but it's challenging, it's so funny. It's not challenging the body. I don't feel hungry at all. It's challenging the mind. And I wanted to say that because I see that it's very related to what we do in business too. You know, the capacity that we have to direct our thoughts where we want. Like to me, I can think about delicious food, you know, and oh my gosh, and I suffer my journey here. Or I can think about why I'm doing this, you know, what is my outcome, what it is that I want, my health, clean up my body, give a break to my body, and it works. And I was applying the same thing in my own business. I can get stuck and think about how difficult and blah blah, or I can really choose my thinking and support the vision and get in touch with my why I'm doing this business, what it is that I'm looking for, and to hook with that passion. And I tell you, in business or in the Jewish program here that we are doing is constant, okay? So it's not something that you think at one point and then it's done. I mean, it's really to be on fire with your why and to support yourself through the power of our minds, really. So that's why we are here together. So after that, let's go. Arne, welcome, Arne, and let's go to the chapter that is called The Law of Forgiveness. And your space, Arne. I'm going to mute myself. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I love this book. It was written a long time ago, and it was the time when Christianity was used a lot in the way they were writing these books, and still there is a lot of those books, but this one is founded there. And this chapter, it talks a lot about Jesus and so on. But first, you cannot hear me?
No,
Can you hear me
yeah.
now? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me again if you don't hear me. But so this chapter has a lot of Jesus stuff in it. But if we really look beyond the religious part here, and you will see that the example of Jesus is used as example to make a point, and the point is very, very well made, and by reading it. So I'm going to start here. Law of forgiveness. Forgive and you shall be forgiven. Luke 6:37. There are crucial things in life that call for great human qualities. Present fear is that.
No
Can you not
voice.
hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Maybe Monica, you cut your video. Okay, I'll start again then. There are crucial things in life that call for great human quality. Will not be big enough to. The lack of large character equipment is a risk at all times. It is here and now that the world needs such. Jesus' bigness of character to his followers. You guys cannot hear me? Whoa. Well, I don't know what to do. It's no different. Yeah. You guys hear me in and out? Celio?
Yes, it's the same. Off and on.
Yeah,
Off and on.
it's off and on and off and on.
Okay. Well, hold a second. Uh, Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Is that better? Okay, so let me know if it goes in and out. Okay, we're gonna start again.
Sounds a lot clearer.
Okay, third time is a charm.
It's a charm.
Okay, there are crucial things in life that call for great human qualities. Our present fear is that man will not be big enough to meet the demands of the day. A lack of large character equipment is a real peril at all times. It is here and now that the world needs the help of a master such as Jesus the Christ. Jesus taught bigness of character to his followers. With such bigness within himself, he was more than a preacher. He was a teacher supreme. He not only pointed the way, but he went forward and showed the way. In the hours of great stress, he showed himself mightier than Pilate, the governor of Judea, or Caiaphas, the high priest and the head of the church, or any and all of the accused scribes and Pharisees. It is true that for a moment they had power over his body and tried him and condemned him to be crucified, the maximum sentence that could be given anyone. But through it, all his mind and spirit commanded them. They dragged him through the streets, bound as a prisoner. They nailed him to the cross on the hill of Calvary. But he, looking down upon them and seeing their smallness of mind, cried out, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do." A man who is great enough to forgive is always greater than the forgiven. He is superior. He is greater than his adversary. Peter, the disciple, was greatly perplexed one time while listening to one of the many lessons of the Master. He raised the question, which is the basis of this lesson. Turning to Jesus, he asked, "Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Until 7 times?" Now this was a generous gesture on his part, for the Jewish law, which he had known, allowed a man to be forgiven 3 times. This was more than twice the great grace that the law allowed, so Peter must have felt the Lord would be pleased with his extension of forgiveness. But he found himself more perplexed when Jesus answered, "I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times. Such a period would be indefinitely, so by the answer that there are no limits or restrictions to the Spirit graces, the quality of forgiveness must be as limitless as faith, hope, and love. The teachings of Jesus in reference to a man's powers to forgive sins are, I believe, among the least understood of all the commands. Again, I say it. The teachings of Jesus in reference to the man's powers to forgive sins are, I believe, among the least understood of all commands. As a rule, there is a separation made between a sin and its many effects. When a man sins, we have been taught to think that this was a job for the minister, and so he is called to pray for the sinner. When a man becomes sick and distressed in mind and body from the effects of his sins committed, we call for a doctor. The doctor in turn endeavors to treat or repair the body and arrest the suffering. This is, at best, we know, is but a temporary measure, for no real healing or permanent cure can be effected until the doctor and the minister work together. Jesus was a master physician in that he dealt with sin and sickness jointly. When they brought a man to him who had been sick of palsy, Jesus spoke of forgiving the man's sin in order to heal him. The people who gathered around and heard him speak questioned his actions. They said, "Who is this that speaks of blasphemies? Who can forgive sin but God alone?" They did not understand how he could consider sin as a cause of palsy. But there are Some no further, but there are some no further advances today who still want to believe that such a disease is caused by a physical or organic disorder, rather than to accept the possibility of being a mental or spiritual laxity. Jesus plainly taught that if you forgive sin, the effect of such an act of forgiveness would become absorbed with natural and healthy ideas, much the same as the blackest of nights is absorbed with the dawn of light. The blackness disappears and the light of day shines upon all alike. When healthy and natural ideas fill the mind, the body takes on a like condition. Thus, our progressive men and women who are turning to a broader field of study and are effecting healings through mental and spiritual processes are not giving us anything new. They are merely catching up with the facts of all the saints, sages, avatars, and masters, as well as all the brightest scientists of our day. Jesus taught that the originating places of every act was in the mind. He said, in brief, that where there is lust in the heart, there is a sin, though the act may never be committed. At another place, he speaks of the origin of sin being in the mind first before the act is committed. For from within, he said, out of the heart of man proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, murders, thefts, deceit, blasphemy, pride, and foolishness. All these evil things come from within, and they defile the man. Scientists accept the truth that the body of man is moved by the mind, that all its functioning is governed by a ruling thought, whether that thought is subjective or objective, whether it is conscious or unconscious. Those who study the mental processes find that all the conditions of the body are created or caused by the mind. It is known that creation in any and every form is governed by and subject to a law. Hence, when one misuses, inverts, or violates a law, this mistake is called a sin. A sin is a mistake, a misunderstanding, a misjudgment. A mistake is falling short of or disobeying the law, whether that law be mechanical or spiritual. Correction is the only method of adjustment or appeasing the law. Thus, repentance and forgiveness are the only means available to alter and correct the mistake. They are the only means of liberating man from suffering the painful consequences of a mistake. They are the only means that will enable him to become in accord or in harmony with the law. Forgiveness of sin means that we must forgive, forsake, and forget that thought or person or condition which prompted the sin. It means to abandon or let go of the thing you ought not to do. To abandon or release the wrong thoughts or idea is to be absolved and liberated from its sinful effects. Forgiveness is the first requirement which permits man to be in harmony with the law of his being. Who can tell what the law is, we may ask? Anyone who studies man as both a mental and a physical being can know the law. If he were to try to learn the law by studying the physical actions or the result of the sin alone, it would lead to nowhere. He would be running around in circles, and that would be useless and futile. If he will go deeper and study the causes and that which prompted the sin, he will get results. He must analyze the case and search for some harbored, hidden, and forgotten shock or condition that would have caused the illness. Then, unless this harbored thought is uprooted from the unconscious mind or memory, This condition will continue to appear again and again in spite of all the surface remedies that may be applied to arrest the pain. Like weeds in our garden. If you go about and cut them off each time they appear before your eyes, they may be cut off for a time, but because they were not pulled out root and all, they will sprout again. Weeds must be pulled out completely to be destroyed and permanently removed. A noted physician talking before a group of other medical men on this very subject of thought being the source of disease was recorded as having said in his concluding remarks, abnormal tumors and cancers are due to a long period of suppressed grief and anxiety. Another way of saying that such diseases are due to a lot of sinful thoughts getting bottled up and suppressed within our minds. If this state is so destroying, it might be wise for us to probe into our own selves and note the effect of our emotions and have upon the physical organism. Then let us seek by every means at our command to overcome, abandon, and forsake every emotional tug that has a debilitating and disturbing effect. Another leading psychiatrist has said, most of the cases of mental disorder of functional type are due to a sense of guilt. There are some harbored and congested thoughts that need forgiveness. Usually a sick man fears to release them to forgive them. This is natural, for if they were able to release and forgive the fearful thoughts, they would no longer be sick-minded. Professor Gates of the Psychological Laboratory of Washington, D.C., in an experiment tested the emotions and the reactions of the body, found some interesting results. He found some 40 bad emotions and made more and many more that were good. Of all the bad emotions, he said, the reaction of guilt was the worst. This deduction was gained by a chemical analysis of the perspiration taken from the body. A small quantity of perspiration was taken from each emotional reaction and tested. The bad emotion showed a strong acid test. Now, if you put some acid on your flesh, you know what will happen. The acid will burn, and if allowed to continue to burn, it will prove painful and destroy the very tissue of your flesh. It is just such a chemical reaction that is affecting the tissue and organism of the body when these destroying thoughts are allowed to harbor within and generate a poison which weakens and eventually destroys the body. A wise physician one day had a caller who, as he put it, had gone round the doctors and sanatoriums, but with it all was not yet healed. In fact, he was growing worse. And in addition to the original malady, he had an increasing condition of melancholia and with suicidal tendency. The physician, knowing that he had gone around and had medical care, decided to approach the case from a mental angle. He questioned and studied each answer with care. After a time, he gained the confidence of his patient and learned the real secret cause of his long illness. Many years before, this man and his brother were business partners, and the man had appropriated and lost some money that rightfully belonged to his brother. It was used in such a way that his brother could not have found this out even if he had investigated. They later served business connections, severed business connections, and he retired from that work. But, as he put it, he could never forgive himself for taking the money. He wanted to return it, but could not do so without the brother learning about the truth. He said that it was not the fear of legal punishment that tormented him so much, but the possible loss of his brother's affection. They had always been inseparable and devoted. It was for this reason that he feared to confess his guilt and make amends in whatever way he could. The physician explained that the thing to do was to relieve this hidden pressure. The only way to do was to call on his brother and to make a clean breast of the whole affair. The patient, not equal to the suggestion, went home to think it over. 3 days later, he called the physician, stating that he had spent 3 dreadful days and sleepless nights battling himself, and had decided to visit his brother. He was in such a mental state that he knew his brother's treatment, once he learned he was a thief, could be no worse than the misery he was suffering already. He told his brother the story, and to his surprise, the brother threw his arms out about him and rejoiced with him that he was cleared from his mind. It was a joyful time for them, for that cloud, the only cloud in their lives, had disappeared. The skies were clear again, and the restoration of the health and the patient was miraculous to those who did not understand what had been cleared away. Through repentance and forgiveness, the man was able to do as Jesus had commanded to the woman he was called upon to judge. Go thy way and sin no more. The rooted sorrow had been plucked from his memory. His mind was free to think on healthy, happy, and joyful thoughts. This allowed his body to be quickly healed. To some, it may have seemed like a miracle, but not at all. It was a natural law operating in a natural, unrestricted way. Facing such indisputable facts, we can understand more fully why Jesus so often spoke of forgiving sin. He knew the law of forgiveness, and he knew how vitally important a part it played in every man's life. The more we study it, the more amazed we become as its simplicity and accuracy of fulfillment. We are to forsake for as Solomon tells us, a sin forsaken is a sin forgiven. To forgive, to release some part of our disposition that is not an asset nor a pleasure to others around us. In turn, we are repairing the breach where we have missed the mark, made a mistake, or sinned. Weeds do not remove themselves in time. Instead, they will increase and grow stronger until they choke out the flower. The same thing is true of our sinful thoughts. In the garden of our memory, they must be plucked out, cast out, and destroyed, so that only flowers of healthy and happy thoughts may grow. A man may have the habit of excessive drinking and is not only miserable within himself, but causes much unhappiness in his home. He desires to overcome the sinful habit. He is given every aid from his friends and loved ones to help him resist the desire and the craving for drink. Time after time, he rises above the temptation, and then he fails. Repeatedly, his family forgives him and encourages him to battle on. Finally, he reaches the place when he no longer has the craving. Then he is liable to forsake the desire to drink and overcome its sinful effects. Then he has forsaken, not the drink alone, but the desire for the drink. When man forsakes the idea that prompts the desire and drink about the physical action, then and not until then does the law forgive and lift him from his debilitating effect. A sin forsaken is a sin forgiven when the thought or the idea that prompted the sin is corrected. James explains the truth clearly in saying, every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then, when lust has conceived, it brings forth sin, error. Simply put, it means that every man, when he conceives an idea that is wrong, destructive, or evil, and dwells upon it, eventually causes it to become a fact. When he wishes to overcome a sinful condition, he does not waste time wrestling with the fact, but corrects, forsaken, forgets, forgives the idea that started it. This is the weed in the garden that must be pulled out, top, stalk, root, and all, to be completely discarded. At another time, we find that Jesus repeated the law, and with some explanation. In his prayer, he states, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. This is a perfectly reasonable proposition. As we forgive those who transgress against us, so shall we be forgiven of our own transgressions. This law has followed us through time, and today we speak of it as though it was something new. We call it modern psychology. The law reads that certain ideas must be dissolved and cleared from the mind in order that other ideas of new ideas of a different character may replace them. It may be explained as a bottle that is already full, which must be emptied before it can be refilled or added to. Jesus spoke of it when he said, neither do men put wine in an old bottle, else the bottle will break. For example, if you hold in your mind that someone has wronged you or has treated you unjustly, you cannot be free from your wrongdoings or injustice so long as you hold that thought in your consciousness. Often people complain that they do not understand clearly or get the illumination of spirit as others have testified. You need only to search your memory to find the cause. If you do not get the understanding you expect, first search your mind for lurking, unforgiving thoughts that have been tucked away from your notice. Is your thought realm filled with resentments that you may hold against some person or condition? Have you a feeling that you have been slightly slighted by the person or that one? The law reads, if you forgive not their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. We make the conditions for ourselves as we meet the demands of the law. Some people ask if we believe in canceling monetary obligations of those who owe us, or literally, so we cancel the debts of our debtors. There were a number of people in the past months who have been made the front page in the newspaper because they wrote off their books with receipts in full to all those who owe them. Did this eliminate these debts? Well, the debtors were loud in their praises for such a generous soul, but they came right back to the do more business with the grocer or the butcher and asked them to charge it again. In other words, they were glad to be relieved of the debt and charged against them, but they knew no difference than to return and open a new account. The answer is that so long as we believe in the necessity and reality of debt, such debt will continue to endure. So long as we believe in debts, we should get into debt and continue to collect all the burdens and headaches that come with them. He who does not, in this his own thought, release all men who owe him, stands liable himself to fall into death. If we send receipts If we send receipted bills to all who owe us, would that relieve us from the burden of debts? No. The signing of receipts does not erase the idea of debt from our minds. First, we must erase from our minds the thought that anyone can owe us anything. This then will bring us into a clear atmosphere in which we sow seeds or ideas of abundance for those who are indebted to us. In this way, the debtors will find their minds more fertile to soil to bring forth thoughts of abundance. When they catch the spirit of the free-flowing thought of plenty, they will be happy to pay their debts, and all that is justly ours will come to us cheerfully. In other words, when we free our minds from all thoughts of debt and try to release more and more the presence of plenty, we shall soon be strong enough to reach out and realize the abundance of our debtors. As they are lifted from our thoughts of limitation and lack, they will attract more and more substance with which they can pay their bills. In this way, and only in this way, can debts be permanently cancelled through applying the law of forgiveness. Both parties concerned will be lifted from a debt consciousness to be a prosperous consciousness, and a prosperity and plenty shall abound. Everyone must at some time walk the path of forgiveness. We must learn to live this law. It must be important for the Master taught that there was no hope of forgiveness for the unforgiving. Only as we forgive are we forgiven. We must put forth the first effort. Our willingness must open the way for our forgiveness. We dare not ask more of the law than we are able to extend to ourselves or to our brothers. Unless we prove this law by living it, we cannot hope to gain the bigness of character that life requires. As we ponder over this whole thought, we may wonder if the Master was looking forward to the essential part of forgiveness must play in order of the world events of today. The truth runs deep into everyday life. When we recall the rivalries that prevail in almost every shop and office, when we see the jealousies that divide the neighborhood, when we observe and feel the envies, both scholastics and professionals, when we have strife and discord in our own homes, we see the solemn, though simple teachings of forgiveness strike deeply into your life and mine. If we cannot forgive, we may know we have a small soul untouched by the teachings of the teacher. These are our daily tests. For if it's in the school of forgiveness that the lessons of life are learned. Okay, you take it.
Okie dokie. Well, let's see. Thank you, Arne, for this long reading. Oh my gosh, and all this vocabulary, kind of old language and all that stuff. But I think we get the point for sure. I get the point, and I think that this topic of forgiveness is so huge. And really coming back, you know, like to on, I was listening and I was getting in touch. Like, it's amazing how powerful we are, and how, you know, our world reflects our minds. I mean, at the end, anything that we see outside is really conceived inside our own minds, you know, and to really have the courage to let go that thought inside me, you know, like, I don't know, I went through a lot of betrayal like 2 years ago, and to really take the time to see that that betrayal is a concept that I had inside, you know, it's something that I could choose to be willing to let go, or I could, you know, keep demonstrating how real it was and blah, 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 and no end, you know. So I think that this topic is very, very powerful. And for me, it really touches the space where there is many places where I feel super free and I'm very forgiving. I totally understand that they don't know how to do better. These people are unconscious or whatever. But I need to keep owning that thought is in my consciousness and to forgive that thought in me. So it is a no-end journey, I think, for now. And I would love to hear some of you to really see how you apply this, because for me, all these that we are reading here that I think is so powerful, needs application in our lives. And it's not so easy when you really feel trapped personally. I remember when I feel hurt or things like that, the first thing that I do is to blame and to put that thing outside, immediately. So they, blah, blah. There is no they, looks like here, and to really get the strength of our own spirit that has that capacity to erase and to feel super good by letting go who we are not, or the kind of thoughts that we are not in alignment with our own true nature. So I love the chapter. I think it's very, very deep, and I would love to hear, all of you here, any comments, any inspiration that you have. So please welcome, Celio. I can see your microphone open, so go for it.
Yes, I jump directly. Hello, can you hear me?
Very well.
Yes. Well, it's amazing. Every week when we get to this mastermind, I always say it, and I think we've all said it, that the chapter applies for the whole week. It's like, my God, this chapter is talking about feelings that I'm experiencing, about situations that I'm experiencing or have experienced recently. And for me, there's one key word here. There are two key words. One is guilt. I don't like that word guilt, but he uses it, Holloway, and he says all of bad emotions, guilt. The guilt is the worst. And not only for who we find guilty, but also ourselves. We find ourselves guilty subconsciously of a situation, and of course we blame someone. So that guilt consciousness has to be erased. I think it's so important, and sometimes even there is a moment in our mind, some situation happened, and you said something, Monica, that I think is key, the erase concept, borrar in Spanish, erase, just to erase. Sometimes situations happen, and whoever does anything to us, or we just feel that projection. And to me, the last few days I've been working in a very deep way in this, because we all experience situations where someone has done something to us, and and we have to apply this law. Otherwise, forget it. There's no way to overcome the situation, and sometimes there's a vivid moment. There's like a vivid scene that resumes all the situation. And for me, this, right before the mastermind, it came so clear to my mind, that moment that I had to transform, and that I had to go, to vertical, to the spirit of Jesus. Because like Arne said, yes, when Mr. Holloway wrote this book, they were more into this kind of religion thing, but I think it's totally valuable today. I have to go to the Christ consciousness to forgive. I think in the first lines that he is so beautiful when he said that they could not do even more things to Christ, to his body, the biggest punishment, and yet they were powerless. All these people that did all these things to Christ, they were powerless. He was holding his power, and this is, and for us is, and at least for me, this is the lesson. I have to hold the power, no matter what I think someone did something wrong or made a mistake or did something that, forget it. I have the power, and if I'm conscious of that, from a clear point of view, I'm clear in that power. I'm going to win. I have the power. So the situation, whatever happened, will be erased, and I will transcend, and is the only way to go on in business. And Mr. Holloway makes these incredible examples, the brothers and everything, and is the only way to go. And we are businessmen here, and we are in a business and in our own businesses, and we have to apply this law all the time. I wouldn't even, you know, oh, this big thing happened. No, all the time. Sometimes it's not a big thing, it's a small thing. It's just a little detail, but it's like a cancer, it's like a tumor. So the other key word, and just, you know, is for me is forsake, because he keeps using that word forsake. And what is forsake? Is to let go, just to let go, to release, let go and let God. And I love it, because that's exactly my, you know, right now is my task, is my work right now. I'm so focused on letting go and letting God. And, you know, I really appreciate this chapter today, because it just puts everything so crystal clear. And I feel like, you know, I feel forgiven. I feel I am forgiving, and I feel forgiven too. Okay, that's what I have to say.
Wow, Celio, thank you so much. And I love to hear, you know, like all this we apply in our real life, you know, this is really daily thing, you know, so I love that we have the courage to do it. And one thing that I learned, I mean, you know, I remember from the Science of Getting Rich too, how was supportive to, you know, to do things in a certain way that was to really go beyond the appearance and to really think always the higher perspective, you know, the light, the truth, capital letters, you know, harmony, peaceful. You know, sometimes we get trapped. To me, I remember when we had a big trouble that I get trapped into the unfairness. You know, this is not fair. You know, this is not fair. Blah blah blah. And my mind was on and on. You know, and at one point I said, well, it's not about fair or not fair. It's about what I'm feeling, really. You know, like to really detect and to really see what is the kind of thought that are creating that kind of feeling, you know, and to have the courage to take 100% responsibility is amazing. That for me is so powerful, and I keep you know, learning like you do, you know, like using life to apply it and to really invoke who I truly am. And this is something that I learned also a lot from the Dynamics Laws of Prosperity with Catherine Ponder that we're going to start to study, Celio, in Spanish. I love that book too, because in the forgiveness section was very interesting to me, like, you know, sometimes to accept that as human beings, I cannot forgive it. It's like, oh my God, you know, I feel so trapped, you know, so to really ask inside, you know, please, God, Goddess, whatever is the name that you use, you know, help me to forgive this. I let go and let God take care of this, you know. So to embrace our humanness and to be gentle with us in a loving way, knowing that our own spirit can respond if we ask for that guidance, you know. So that's something that I really took in my heart. And sometimes I feel trapped, you know, that I need to ask and to, like you were saying, Celio, you know, let go, help me to let go and let you, capital letters, you know, take care of this. I want to see the high perspective of the situation, you know. So thank you so much, Celio. I see the human being here, you know, like we're doing our journey. So thank you. Wonderful. Anyone else that would like to share, inspire, or mastermind, to really master our minds here all together? Okay. Let's see. Jay, I can see your microphone open, but I don't hear you.
How about now?
Now, yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. It's just
Good.
pouring here, so I don't know if I'm off and on or in and out.
Okay.
You know, it's funny. This is when you talk about letting things go, and I think it's important. I know it's hard for me, you know, my background, and I would just hold on to things for a long time, and but I think it takes away from your focus of you know, you need to just find out what your intention is and what you're going to focus on and what you want to do. And if you keep that in the back of your mind, you're just never going to move forward. I was thinking about, and we only go two directions, forward or backwards. I was reading a great book, The Slight Edge, and you know, it focuses on it. You're never in the same spot. Arnie, you know, you'll understand this with a sailboat or any kind of boat. You know, you think, okay, if I just shut the engine off and sit there, well, I'm going to stay in this. I want to stay in the same spot. You're not even in the same spot when you're anchored. Something is making you move either backwards or forward or around and around. So if you're thinking about revenge, or you're thinking about getting back or whatever, because we all have injustices in our life. And it was funny what you said about not being fair and everybody are being treated fair or not getting a break. And you know, I always relate to sports, and I was laughing the other day. I was driving somewhere and I was listening to sports radio, and one of the athletes had gotten injured, and so one of the callers said something about it's just so unfair for him. He never catches a break. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, he just signed a $40 million contract that's guaranteed. He's going to get paid for that. So it's unfortunate what happened to him in being injured, and that might, but you know what? Most of us would kill to make $40 million or have $40 million in income coming into us guaranteed for the rest of our life. So everybody's unfairness is different. What you think as a slight towards you, someone else thinks as it's not a big deal. So we have to put everything in perspective and just learn to let certain things go and look at the big picture and say, okay, what can we take from this? This is someone that maybe that was a lesson for us to eliminate that situation from our life so we never get put in that again. We never have to come against it. You know, there's lessons learned in everything. So we can dwell on it and let it drag us down and let us just ruin our future and concentrate our efforts in how do we justify this, or how do we rectify this, or how do we get back at this person, or okay, that's someone I can either learn a lesson from and move on, or let it destroy me forever. So that's just my quick thoughts there to you. So back to you, Monica.
Thank you, you are so right. Yes, it's really up to us, and we have that choice, you know. We keep it, we hold it, you know, unconsciously, or we put it in the back, or we free ourselves and we keep going and we focus towards what we want as freely as we can, you know. So thank you so much. I love that you are so grounded, you know, so in the sports and things like that. You help me to see it on earth, you know, in the real examples here. So thank you. And yes, Candace, looking forward.
Wow, what a wonderful subject. I had a lot of thoughts go through my mind, or not very many, I'm not sure, but my first forgiveness for today is to that silly storm that kept Doc Fran from joining us today. And
now.
Can you hear me? Okay. And I was thinking the first thing I wrote down in my notes was I forgive any condition, person, or thought in my head. And I was going to say that keeps me from meeting my goals, but then I realized I was trying to control the forgiveness or trying to hold on to something. So I just forgive all of it. That was the thought I came to pretty early. Arnie, you did such a beautiful job of reading it. The resonance was clear. You know, you really did a fine job on that. Thank you. So I forgive everything going on a pretty regular basis. You touched on that, Thelio, with the that it's constant, and it is in small things. It is. Well, that person didn't say that thing quite the way I wish they had. Nope. Keep moving. Forgive it. Keep moving. You know, very little things, and some certainly bigger things. But it's like a wave of rebirthing that we ride through our lives to keep becoming anew. That if I can forgive this quick, right now, whatever it was, or I get stuck. I'm the one that gets stuck. They're carrying on. The situation is carrying on. Do I want to be stuck back here in the backwater? Or do I want to just, you know, stay in the flow, stay in it? And I think forgiveness is one of our major keys for that. And all the time, really all the time, as best as possible. And of course, the times we don't, we remember, oh yeah, there's one of those opportunities. And then I want to honor and acknowledge all of us. There's also another famous quote in the Bible that says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all else shall be added unto you." And that is what we're doing here. We have turned, you do it. God, Goddess, all of the above. How would you go about becoming a prosperous person on this earth? And we have actively been seeking out the path through these books, through our time together. When one or more are gathered together, when our thoughts combine, they become more powerful. And so I sound pretty preachy right there, but I'm really pleased by the foundation that we're building, not only in ourselves, but for our business, for each other, for the connection we're having. And that's all I want to say today. Thank you. Thank you. Great, great chapter always.
Thank you, Candace. Yes, yes, incredible, powerful, and like you say, it's constant, and all day long we can test, when you are trapped or whatever. But I keep seeing, the beauty of, like you were saying at the end, the beauty of working together on this, and how to really do it from the inside out, And at the same time, I can see how needed are the actions that we need to take, and to invite people, and to go beyond the fears that we can have of whatever, rejection or not knowing how to explain it or whatever, But for me, and I'm learning that from Arne, that I really appreciate you, Arne, and I admire you in that aspect, really has to come from a place of passion. So without being in alignment, like we are working all of here, I feel much more comfortable today talking with people and taking things like not personal. I really do an offering. I believe in what I see here, and then not being attached to the outcome. That's something that is very new. In my past as a direct marketer, I was very different. I needed, or oh my gosh, it was so personal. So I can see that when I imagine Jesus, on the cross, just as an image that I can see, on the cross, like really compassionate about, these other aspects of himself that they were so unconscious and so ignorant, it's like, forgive them because they don't really know what they are doing, I admire, like, how much anchored you need to be in your true nature, in the eternal being that you are, to allow the treatment of your own physical body, So I push myself, I feel so much yearning to really anchor that, to embody that kind of eternity and high frequency, where I think peace and I think, harmony, and I let go all the other kind of perceptions that I have or thought that I can catch in my mind, So I really admire the wisdom of realizing that if I take it personal, it's because I have something to clean, I have something to release. And if I don't take it personal, I can just bless, and I can feel compassion for the person and for myself, for my own journey, because I was there at one point for sure, So thank you so much, Candace. You're a great, great inspiration, really. Thank you. Arne, yes, I can see you open the microphone.
Yeah, I just have a couple of things. That I'm a person that lives pretty much in present time. So I feel like I don't have any hanging on more. The only thing I have for love of all the people in my past or situations is love. All the disasters and everything, except one, and it's and I want to let it go, but the idea of I don't want revenge, but the idea of that the person would get away with it. How that keeps me trapped. So, and I want to let that go, but I'm still not able to let that go. I'm getting much closer today in the reading today, in the book today, and something that was very strong for me from the chapter that I got, that I never got from forgiveness before, that non-forgiveness is living in the consciousness, in the poverty consciousness, and forgiveness is bringing us into the prosperity consciousness. You cannot have a prosperity consciousness and have grudge or guilt. So that was huge for me. So since I am completely, and we all are completely committed to abundance and prosperity consciousness, I know I cannot have those two together. The feeling of non-forgiveness, feeling upset with someone. I have to let that go and get back to who I really am. Get back to my abundance consciousness, my prosperity consciousness, my divine consciousness. The divine consciousness does not have grudge. It has now, letting go, and I have one more place to let that go. But and I have a motivator today that I didn't have before, and that is I realized I need to do it in order to be able to access my own prosperity consciousness.
Oh, honey, not because you are my husband, but I love you. I just love the way that you are so honest and such an integrity, honey. I love it. And yes, that's the walking. That is a walking. So thank you so much for your deep understanding and your application of the understanding, because we can read books, 1,000 books, The thing is to integrate them, to apply them, to walk, to really become the lessons and the wisdom of all these books that we are studying here together, and to use it for our own expansion, our own enlightenment, so we can engage with our business in a new way. For sure, that's my intention. I think that's the intention of all of us here in this conscious mastermind, and the decision of being conscious entrepreneurs, that is not anymore force, and do. It's more into allowing, and for that, you have to vibrate really good. So I think we are opening a new dimension here, and I'm very happy to be a pioneer on this and all together here. So thank you so much. We are at the end of our time here, perfect on time here, and I just wish all of us a wonderful week where we can really apply this or invoke, this forgiveness law that is part of our being. We are made to forgive. If not, will not exist, these things. So we are not by accident going through all these troubles. We are made to learn the freedom of forgiveness. So that's what I wish you, a wonderful week with this. Next Saturday, we are going to get together again. It's going to be March 7. I don't know if you imagine already, but it's like, wow, woohoo. Exactly. So let's begin the month, especially in business, let's say with clarity, with a passion, and every day, to me, I'm committed every day to do something for my business and enjoy that something. So that's my biggest lesson lately, to enjoy it, okay? To don't do it because I have to, to stay connected with my why and with my vision, and then, let the universe unfold through me, through my own learning and growth here. So wonderful week, as usual. A wonderful week to all of you, and to the ones that you are in the other side listening the video or listen to the recording any day. And see you next Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. We get together again. So have a wonderful, wonderful week. Love you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
See you
guys.
next week. Thank you.
Good job, Arne. Nice job today.
Thank you,
Yes.
and thanks everybody who's watching on the YouTube also and the website. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.